Welcome back, Cracked fans, to another edition of the Cracked Interviews podcast. I'm your host, Alex Gruskin. As you can tell as listening to this podcast, we are all in on the 2019-2020 NCAA tennis season already. So much fun action going on around the country. Obviously, this past weekend we had the Oracle Masters event in Malibu. That is always a fun occasion. We've also had, so many great results, so many great individual results, but we've been monitoring the big storylines, and as you listeners know, College Contenders is a series we have been doing on our website, previewing last year's top 10 year-end teams from as we get ready for this 2020 season. The number 8 team in last week's poll, the USC Trojans, is the team we are focusing on this week, and so we figured there is no better guest to bring in than when we're talking about the Trojans than the newly minted head coach of the USC men's tennis team, Coach Masi. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey guys, how we doing? Always been wanting to see if I could eventually get on this thing, but I'm glad I got invited. I guess I just needed to finally get associated with a school that's top 10 to do it.
First of all, Chris Halioris, who is also on the podcast. Chris, welcome back to the Cracked Interviews podcast.
Thanks, Alex.
Chris is associated with the Liberty men's tennis program, and we consistently bring him on. So I don't think that's a fair. Accusation.
Okay, well, maybe I took it personally then.
No, I'm glad you didn't. Look, what you guys were doing in Lubbock certainly caught our attention, and that is why when you were not chosen as the next USC coach, returning home after your time as an assistant there, it was obviously a great thing to see. Let's just start there, Coach. Give me the rundown of things since you've taken the USC job.
Well, I haven't slept very much. It's been a whirlwind, to be honest, because it happened so late. In late August, and just the transition from my family getting out here and myself and the school starting, then to just the season starting. One thing after the next has just been happening over and over, quicker and quicker. And you got recruiting, and you got to do all these other things. I mean, just finally with the fall season ending, someone asked me at the beginning, they said, look, give me a call when, you get settled down. I said, well, towards the end of November then. And that's really the way that, it feels like it's just, 1 week after another just flies by, and you're constantly busy, and you're on the road, and you're with the guys. And so now that the fall season's over, hopefully I can take a deep breath and just kind of appreciate, being here. And, but it's been a blast so far. USC's obviously home to me. And, it was very good to me for a number of years. And, just now with the group of guys that we have on this team, I think, it feels pretty special to be back.
Yeah, and for you, just let's start with that feeling to be back. This is a place you have been before. There's a lot of, no one, I think, expected Coach Peter Smith to resign this offseason. But with that job coming open, the USC job, one of, if not the most coveted jobs in all of college tennis, how did you get involved with the job? How, what was that process like for our listeners who want to hear how, a head coach at Texas Tech makes the jump back to USC?
I mean, I think just my time there before definitely helped a lot. I knew a lot of the people in administration still. Steve Lopes, who's the man that was my superior, over Peter, was still, overseeing the program. And, Peter got me in touch with him. And, kind of from there, that's kind of just how it got going and started to finish. It was obviously very short and, little process. I mean, I can't believe, it was literally a phone call 1 or 2 times. Told my AD, told Kirby Hocutt at Texas Tech I was going to be going to do an interview. I did a 1-hour interview. It's not like they needed to show me around campus. With the amount of time that I knew, but it was like a 1-hour interview, and then a day later they offered me the job. And it just went quick. So
that's half that's the beauty of it. And so you get back to LA on that visit. How did it feel for you just to be? Is LA a place you always wanted to end up?
I'm from Riverside, California, which is 60 miles east of LA. So yeah, definitely, you miss home a little bit. You wish you could be around your parents, as they get older, and just being in the Southern California life. Lubbock definitely is different than Los Angeles. The L is about the only thing that's in common with the two of those cities. But definitely just the things that you grew up your whole life doing. Yeah, I mean, I would lie to you if I said I didn't want to be back. But the funny thing is I told my wife we were actually we were at Coach Keckley's wedding in San Diego 2 months earlier, and I told her I went on a run, and like usually I'd always had like this anxiety and feeling of wanting to be back in Southern California every time we would come back to visit. And I went on a run that morning before his wedding. I just like told her after, I was like, you know what? I finally kind of just felt peace that we're never going to be back here again. And let's just enjoy our time whenever we visit, instead of always thinking, I hope we end up here eventually someday. And sure enough, 6 weeks later, I'm back. So it's kind of weird when you finally submit to the whole thing that then you get it.
So just to be clear, Coach, I don't know if you listened to everything that Alex and I did last year, but USC last year was my preseason number one. And I kept harping on how with all the guys they had, right, they were going to be number one. And it seems like I'm just going to say that since I was wrong last year, I'll have to just carry over to make it this year. And since you came in so late, I have to say they're all Peter's recruits, right? So I get a carryover year, and I can claim it again, right?
No, you can definitely claim it again, and I hope we can pull through for you this time.
Yeah. So that was going to be my follow-up. I mean, should I be so bold as to go there 2 years in a row? I mean, what do you say?
I mean, if you think we were good last year, you should darn well think we're going to be really good this year. We had the core of the team is back, and then you got added 2 new freshmen that are unreal.
It's almost like he was listening to our review that we did like 30 minutes before this.
Well, no, that was a great setup. So, Coach, I expected you to win, and I need you to win this year. So can you do that? That's exactly the sort of questions we hope for at Correct Racquets. But to Chris's point, Coach, and you mentioned this at the end of your first answer, you take over a program, and it's not like it's a program in the dumps. This is a USC team that was a top 8 seed last year, obviously lost a heartbreaking round of 16 match to UNC in LA, but you get guys back like Daniel Cookerman, like obviously Brandon Holt, Riley Smith, Moore Bolus, and then you bring in a wealth of recruits. For you coming in as a coach, how do you approach, coaching a team where you're coming in and these guys already know the deal?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is for one, they were very disappointed and they know that they underachieved. So you have a hungry group. And then with adding two freshmen like a Ryder Jackson and a Stefan Dostanic, who are just gamers at the end of the day, I mean, it adds to a good formula. So, I mean, every one of those guys that's on this team right now, they feel the sting of what happened last year, and they don't want to feel that again. They've worked very hard, and I think it shows in our success that we've had this fall. I'm not one that has a big ego, believe me, but I definitely do feel like we probably as a team have had probably one of the better falls of any other school. And just with the amount of guys we had in the fall championships last week and tournaments that we've won and the way guys are playing, I don't know. I think, I don't want to put too much out there because I don't want to jinx ourselves, but I feel like we have a strong case to do really well this year.
And you talk about jumping off to that strong start in the fall. I mean, because for you come in as a coach who you had success at Texas Tech. You built up the program there, and I'm sure the X's and O's of your program, the plays you like to run doubles wise, all of the different preferences is probably different than what these guys are used to. So early on, I'm just curious because again, it's a very interesting dynamic. It's rare that you have this sort of roster and a new coach. Dare I say, and again, no pressure here, Coach, but it's like Steve Kerr taking over the Warriors then, right? It's like, okay, find the coach, get the pieces right. And just so for you, is it early on, is it X's and O's? Is it about just making sure everyone's bought in? What is the preliminary focus for your team that allowed you to have the successful fall you did?
I think them just understanding who I am. Like, there's a lot of philosophies and things that I shared, obviously, from Peter, because, I mean, he was my mentor being there for 5 years. So I think that helps a lot. Like, we have similar personalities in regards to how we coach and that we're players coaches. And we're hard workers and they can see that. But then I had my own little twist to it. So they feel a lot more comfortable, they're comfortable around me. And then, like you said, different doubles, those different strategies, things like that. We didn't change too many pieces. Chris is still, Chris and Deaton are still there with the program. And, we didn't overwhelm them with new, a whole lot of new things. So them just understanding me, and I think the way I am as a person, I'm easy to get along with, for the most part. Like, and I'll strike the hammer down when I need to. They feel comfortable right away, and I think that's the biggest thing. And they can just go out and be who they are. They're not feeling like there's any type of pressure. The pressure that they feel is, they want to do well so they can impress the coaches to see where they're going to be in the lineup. And I told them that early on. It's like, look, guys, you guys I'm going to start from a clean slate. You guys are going to be the ones that determine who's going to play and who's not. Just because, Moore played whatever last year, or Daniel played 2, or Brandon played 1, they still got to go out and prove it. So I think from when I told them that, and they knew that it was just all fresh and clean, that they felt like, okay, that I can just go out there and be who I am and see what comes from it. And I think that's shown.
So how much? I think the singles lineup we have a pretty good feel for, right? With a lot of battling down for the.
Tell me what you think it is. Tell me what you think it is, because Chris and I are battling with it right now.
Wow. Okay. You want my lineup?
I want your lineup.
Okay, and just so you know, this lineup is sponsored by my UTR. But go on.
No, my lineup is I think a dead solid 1, 2, 3. Holt, Kucherman, Bullis. 4, I'm going Riley on experience. The battle is 5 through 8 with the 2 freshmen and Jake and Bradley, but I'm going with Jackson 5 and Dostanich 6.
Okay, I like that.
Now the question I wanted to ask was, granted, but what I prefaced that with in our review was, hey, you've got all kinds of options there, in my view, at the bottom with whoever's got good form, right? But what I really want to know is, I think Holt and Smith, right, great doubles team. How much have you guys been doing already, or is it really hey, we won't focus on that in large part until we come back after the break on what those doubles lineups, who matches well with each other, and what's that going to look like come January?
Yeah, first, your singles lineup, I think you're headed in a good direction, but there is a lot of depth on this team, and gosh knows what we're going to get to towards the end of once the end of this fall comes, and once we get to January, because that's really going to that information there, how hard they work and what they do in the short amount of time early on before like indoors can be what that lineup is throughout the bottom of the lineup. But obviously guys like Daniel and Brandon kind of have shown throughout their time that they deserve to be up there. In doubles, man, I think the last few years, like with the team, they had those 3 solid teams from top to bottom. Brandon, Riley, and then you had Lawrence and Jack, and then you had Kucherman and Smith. That was like a pretty formidable lineup. Like, they just had that kind of set in stone. But this year, taking a few of those pieces out, I think we maybe have to potentially sometimes put our our veterans together, and then put them with a younger guy and see how it comes. But I think we have so much talent that we're going to be able to mix and match it a little bit, and maybe, who knows, we can throw out a different lineup at different times, and that's something that's for sure there. So I don't know. I don't want to get into too much of what my strategy will be. But, there's definitely options, as you pointed out, and with our talent and with our depth and with our experience, we can do those things. So hopefully we'll find the right one at some point, and it will stick with it come NCAAs.
My follow-up to that, and we'll start with this, I guess, is how helpful is it to you when you're looking through to have, as you mentioned, assistant coaches Chris Quinta and Deaton Bauman back on the staff, their familiarity with these members of the team? Can you discuss your relationship with them early on, why you made the decision to keep them in the fold?
Yeah, for me, like, I've always felt like with kids and with teams, you need to have consistency. And the one thing like that's been hard for me and my kind of, I guess, my progression up is, I've lost some assistants along the way to, better jobs or bigger jobs, like, or going on to be head coaches. And so then from losing them, the players lose the same voice, right? And so you don't have that consistency that I mentioned. So that's tough on the players. So now when I come in, like I said, I'm not Peter Smith by any means. God, I'm never put myself in that category. But like personality wise, like we're both kind of funny guys. We're lighthearted, but we're intense. So there's a little bit of similarity there. But then like Chris and Deaton, they've heard their voices over and over and over again for the last 3 or 4 years. And so then at least they feel comfortable knowing that they have those voices. So then again, the change isn't too much. And then through time, that consistency will pay off. So I think with that, it's been very helpful. And then also just Chris knowing the guys and Deaton, they know their personalities, they know how they click, they know what works, and and I can add what I think can change. Well, this is what's been going on for 3 or 4 years. Well, maybe this is time for us to do something a little different. So I can hear their experiences from being here and help me coach the team and run the program. And I think that was, and also with, again, the timing, me showing up 2 weeks before school starts or 10 days before school starts. I mean, I was running wild, and if, I go in there with a whole new staff and we're trying to figure this out together, and it could just be hard. And, there's definitely a lot of help there from Chris and from Dean just early on with the balance. Because, again, I'm transitioning myself personally. I got a family coming with me. It takes an army to get that whole thing through and be done. And luckily I had, 2 great assistants to be able to help me do that.
Absolutely, and I know we don't want to keep you away from your family too long, but my second point on that is you also talk about the fact that it is a fresh perspective, so as well as with that continuity, and this is not to be disrespectful to your team, but given that it's an older team, a team that's been around the block, if they get stagnant, you can give them that kick in the that they may need or may not need. And so I guess my question is for you, having that blank slate, that clean palette, will experimenting with the lineup be something you will do, something you maybe even look forward to doing, is getting that chance to play with all of the different pieces, add that fresh perspective, maybe even split up a Brandon and a Riley who have played so well together for so long?
Yeah, I think that's some things that we've got to try to do. I mean, this team knows that they haven't been as successful as they should have been. And maybe that could be that, like you just pointed out, is that just we need something new. Like maybe someone needs to play with someone different, or maybe, singles guys need to have their chances to play a little bit higher. I mean, who knows? I mean, shoot, with our success this fall, there's going to be a lot of potential to do a lot of different things with the lineup. And, hopefully we can have flexibility, which means we can cause problems for other teams. I think that's the big thing. And I think another thing that we have is with depth is we can have times where guys feel a little banged up, or guys are a little hurt, or guys need some time. We're going to have that option to be able to do that. And, make sure that guys that aren't playing, they can get in there in the lineup, or give a guy like maybe Brandon Hole the time where, he can have a day off, or Kucherman, or whoever it is, Riley, those guys can have that we can have that ability to put anybody in the lineup. And then again, we just have a mixed bag to throw at people just at any time, and so that we can keep them on their toes, so they don't know what we're doing.
So Coach, I got to tell you, there's one thing that I'll feel like it will be a complete failure this year if I don't see from your guys that I saw at Texas Tech last year, and that is I need another rendition of Carpool Karaoke.
That was pretty awesome, wasn't it?
That was outstanding. I mean, it's going to be tough because you've got so many Americans on the team, and what made that so funny was all the 4 guys singing, the cowboy song. So, yeah. So maybe you're going to have to get Brandon to take like Bolus and Kucherman out, and and do
Brandon's
something.
Pretty funny. So I think we could find something pretty similar to that. I'll work on it though. We'll make our own little
All right, yeah, we got to have one of those this year.
I'm always willing to have some funny stuff. I mean, shoot, watch some of the stuff that Chris puts out on the USC tennis, and on the Instagram page. I mean, it's pretty funny. So, I'll come up with something good for you.
All right. So on a more serious note, and obviously it's early, but in terms of goals for the season, is the first goal win the Pac-12?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always the year. I mean, that's what it is year after year. I mean, you come to a place like USC, guys, look, there's only two things that you do. You win conference championships and you win national titles. And that's clear from day one. And that's not going to change with whether we get a new AD or we keep an old AD, like whoever it is that ever comes through that. That's always going to be the status quo. And that's what you come here to do if you're a student athlete. I mean, you walk through here ever on campus, guys, it's just enthralled with success in every stretch of your imagination, whether it's in school and academically or it's on the athletic field. Everything is revolved around success. I mean, you walk into McKay Center, which is like our student athlete building, where where they lift and do other things like that. We've had over 450 athletes in the Olympics throughout time. That's at USC alone. I mean, there's countries that don't have that many. So
yeah,
I mean,
it's just absurd.
That's just the way that it is. I mean, you have to be ready for it, and you have to be prepared to be a part of it. And as a coach, I have to be the same way. And these guys, like, they're not anything short of any of those things. They know that it hasn't been a successful year. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. So one last one before we'll let Alex lead us into some rapid fire questions for you. Obviously, coming from Southern California, and the NCAA's title wise is the big deal. But how much stock do you put in to indoors? I mean, obviously we expect to see there, but being playing where you do, it's great experience, and obviously nobody goes there to lose. The guys are going to try to win, but I would in my mind, I kind of look at that as, it's great experience and it's kind of the stepping stone, but it's certainly not the NCAA's, and you don't put that huge expectation or goal there. What do the guys look at it, and how do you look at that?
And basically with national indoors, I always look at it as a time for our guys to, first of all, be able to see where we stand with the rest of the country. I usually use All-Americans as that. As like that in the fall is like, okay, you get a kind of taste of who the new guys on the block or who the players are. And then, when you get to indoors, you kind of see where we match up with our team. And then it's the midway, kind of right towards the end of the midpoint or right before the midpoint of the year, then you realize, okay, we have whatever, 2 months, 8 weeks to get ourselves prepared and put ourselves, like you guys just said, in the right lineup or mind frame of where we got to go towards the end of the year. So do I put a lot of stock if we do go there and do well? Then you're like, okay, that's where we fare. Like, great. If you're super successful, awesome. But if you go there and you don't, you win 1 and you lose 2, or you win 2 and you lose 1, you're not ultra, like, you're going to leave there and go, oh wow, we're not so good. But you do necessarily have to figure out if you're doing the right things, if you maybe like your lineup's in the right spot, or where you match up well, or if our doubles this is right, like we can play at this level with our doubles lineup or not, or maybe like we said earlier tonight, maybe we do need to mix it up, maybe these aren't the right teams. So I think that's what national indoors is really there for. Yes, do you want to go there and win it all? Of course, but do you put that on the pedestal of your team goals at the end of the year? Not as much. I mean, it's up there for sure, but if you're going there more to see where your level is and where you compare to the rest of the country, I guess, is the short answer to that whole thing I just said.
No, we love that. And in terms of stacking up this season, we've talked about this whole interview. You have the talent, obviously, at USC this year to do some pretty special things. So last serious question, then we'll do our quick rapid fire. But for you, for this team, in terms of goals, what you want to accomplish, what you guys all hope to get out of this season, what would you say is that story for your 2020 USC men's tennis team?
I mean, be, obviously grow and keep getting better week after week. That's for sure. If you're looking at just like where you're looking at in terms of success, yeah, win a Pac-12 title, win NCAA title, but more importantly, like we just have to be playing our best tennis towards the end of the season. But yeah, I mean, if you're putting the trophies in front of you, those are the two trophies and the only ones that matter the most. And, I would even take a loss in a Pac-12 final to learn something so that when we go to NCAAs, we're playing our best tennis and the guys are, gunning and aiming for, I mean, look, I can remember back in 2009, we went out to A&M to play there to practice before, like to play a match against them. And we learned a great deal on that trip, losing to them on their courts and then turning around and beating Baylor and Stanford on the road without Robert Farah. And then it got us prepared that we knew what we needed to have when it came to the end of the season. And, the rest was history there. I mean, we won it all. So, there's moments in your season that you find that, but the main goal always is to go out there and win it all. You don't want to see another team hosting that trophy up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the fun of being part of the USC men's tennis program, is you get the chance to compete for those sorts of stakes. But with that in mind, last thing I want to do with you, we try to do this with all of our guests before they go, a quick rapid fire. In that more, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions in a short period of time. But however you're feeling it to answer in the moment, let us know what you're thinking. Sound good?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, Westhoff, give me a rapid fire sound effect, please. Let's start here. The thing you missed most about a USC-UCLA tennis match?
The overall feeling of when you walk in to that, into that match, the pressure. Actually, that's the right word, the pressure. The feeling of that pressure of that day.
I love it. It's one of our favorites. But all right, when you left that team in 2009, did you expect them to win the next 3 titles?
Yes.
Really? You could just tell?
I mean, maybe not. Yeah, no, I knew it. Steve Johnson was something very special, and Robert Farr was a beast. I knew for sure they were going to win it the next year. Maybe 3 and 4, who knows? But I knew they were going to win next year for sure.
If I would have told you in that moment, Robert Farr, a Grand Slam champion, what would your reaction have been?
I mean, he's one of the more incredible athletes I've ever coached. So I mean, to say that can he do it, he's just a workhorse, and he really is.
No, that team's incredible. And then you talk about all the NCAA success. I mean, again, this is putting you in a tough position, but one NCAA match on the line, you can say it's at their respective lines, but who you going with if it's a 3-all situation? Do you want Steve Johnson on the court, or do you want Money Time Daniel Nguyen on the court?
Oh, God. I don't want to insult either one of them, but I mean, Daniel Nguyen, you needed to have Peter Smith on his court if you were going to have D-Nguyen. So if you're going to put him in there, you better put Peter Smith next to him. Steve Johnson, you could put a fly on over there and he'd be fine. So I guess I'd take Stevie.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I just don't think it lost in the history because obviously the Steve Johnson's the storyline, but Daniel Nguyen, one of the most consequential players of 2010's college tennis. I mean, the guy, I think he lost his last match at NCAA ever to Mitchell Frank, but outside of that, that was it. Like, that's crazy.
He was pretty money other than that. But if you would know D-Nguyen, D-Nguyen was the most scared human being on the planet, and you needed someone on that court telling him what to do at every point.
Oh, I also am pretty sure, true or false, Stevie J was a little chubby his freshman year.
Yeah. That's a funny one because, usually you put on the freshman 15, he lost the freshman 20. And I go, Stevie, how did you lose 20 pounds? I go, we didn't run as much because I was usually in charge of conditioning back then. And he's like, look, Mace, he goes, I used to only play, practice, do anything for 8 hours a week of tennis. Maybe. He goes, we're doing 20 hours now. He goes, that's basically what's happening.
It's just incredible. I mean, yeah, now the guy's like so pro diet. I mean, you're not going to find an ounce of fat on him. It's just ridiculous. I'm also pretty sure you played with a Prince Graphite back in the day. And as a fellow Prince Graphite user, gotta love that.
Yes, that was me too. That was all my doing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, those teams were the best. All right, the thing you'll miss most about living in Lubbock?
All the people, 100%. Just the family and the college town environment. I mean, it's one of a kind.
The thing you look forward to being in LA again the most?
Going to the beach, eating Mexican food. That's actually Mexican food.
Yeah, you're big beach guy, big Mexican food guy.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? I love it.
All right, so if I asked favorite meal, what would you go with?
Say that again. My favorite meal?
Yeah.
It's still my wife's lasagna. I love myself a tamale, an enchilada, and a taco. I mean, with rice and beans, it's nothing better.
Oh, of course, and I'm sure you'll get the chance to find many this season. Well, Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to Chris and us. Good luck to you and your USC Trojans as you wrap up the individual season, get ready for the team season, and anytime you want to come on and chat, now that you're at a relevant school, I suppose we'd love to have you.
Awesome. Well, let me know anytime. I'll do it.
And that was a joke. Yeah, Texas Tech coach out there, all coaches out there, we would love to have any of you. But yes. So again, though, Coach, good luck to you. Thank you again. Can I get a fight on out of you?
Yeah, fight on.
Of course, and take care.
All right, bye-bye.